What's up, y'all? It's Christine Pelaez, ADHD, bipolar type 1, nurse, and your host of Soul Centered, a mental health podcast about all things taboo, vulnerable, and soul searching. I talk mental health to free us all from capitalism. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about dating with bipolar and ADHD. But before we do that, let's talk about this top I'm wearing. So, this top was thrifted and it is actually meaningful to me because one of my best friends, Genesis, was visiting with her partner. And so they were visiting, and then we went to one of her like favorite stores that has these, which has since closed, unfortunately, but they are actually, she still has an online store. I now regret not knowing the name, but it's in Oakland, or it was in Oakland. Anyhow, it carries this line that uses like upcycled or recycled um, linen from bed sheets. I think, yeah. But they also have like a thrifted section or like a vintage or yeah section, and I got this from there. So then whenever I wear this, I think of my friend who's like, oh yeah, I saw that shirt, like when she was like rummaging through the piles or the yeah through the racks, yeah. And so it's funny because I felt, usually when I talk to you like this, record a podcast, I feel inspired. And this morning I felt inspired, and I kind of regret not writing down like exactly like what inspired me, because time passed between the inspiration and me talking with you now. Um, but it was a good reason because Genesis and I were talking on the phone, and we usually have a time that we talk every month, and I totally forgot. That's like I think that's I really do think that is so like ADHD of me, like to like forget things, and it was totally in my calendar. I totally remembered it and saw it in my calendar, like when I was looking at it, the past couple of days. But then I this morning I was like, oh yeah, Saturday, like, I could do whatever I want, right? Anyway, so she called me, and then I was like, oh yeah, shit, our call. So anywho, yeah, this reminds me of her, and it's like one of my favorite tops. Yeah, so that's the one thing that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of like usually I try to introduce like a part of my home that I haven't talked about yet. Okay, let's see what can I talk about. Um, I don't think you could quite see all of it, but there's this screen print. I don't know, actually it's probably just a print that is kind of tealish in color, and maybe you can see that it says that it's like these lifted up pillars that are actually hands. One of them says house, one of them says feed, one of them says listen, heal, employ, and teach. And on the top is the sun that's raying down on these hands that are uplifted. And it says, defund police, invest in community. Yeah. And so I got this during a march during probably 2020, when George Floyd was murdered. So, and the idea of defunding police was much more open, right? And so the idea of defunding police is not like taking away all their money. It's like they get too much money, so how about we redistribute money where it's really needed and not in policing, not in that. So anyway, um as you can tell, I'm quite the activist. I mean, like, not that I'm like very active, but I'm about equity, and yeah, I hope that's clear, especially in my purpose here, me talking about mental health, right? And freeing us all from capitalism. I mean, come on. Okay, so yeah, that print is a nice print, and I feel like it encompasses the idea very well. Like what is the purpose of or the idea of defunding police? Okay, let's see. Now let's get into how I usually talk to you, updates, right? So health updates. I am pretty stable on my meds, lithium and Latuda, and SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, Lexapro. Lexapro. So you know what's interesting? They say that Lexapro it can cause mania, um, and it can be harmful for people who experience bipolar. But for me, it's been helpful because, like, this is very common that bipolar people will be misdiagnosed as depressed, as having depression, because, like, remember that bipolar is two illnesses. You experience mania, being very, very like elevated in mood, and depression, being very depressed in mood. And you can experience, or you do experience, both of those things, not necessarily, usually not at the same time, but anyway, bipolar, right? Polar ends by two. So bipolar. um so I had been misdiagnosed with depression before, and I was started on Lexapro, and it really helped with my depression and anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety too. I feel like anxiety is so common, don't you think? Yeah. Anyway, um, so I was diagnosed with depression, put on Lexapro, and then once I was diagnosed with bipolar and put on bipolar medications, they weaned me off of the SSRI, off my Lexapro. And weaning off, we mean tapering off. We mean lowering slowly the dose until it's nothing. And the reason they do that is because you could have severe side effects called, well, SSRI withdrawal. Yeah, it's a withdrawal, right? So, and you've probably heard of the word withdrawal from like alcoholism. If you abuse alcohol and your body's dependent on it, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, you cut it off cold turkey, and then you withdraw because your body was so dependent on it and you didn't wean yourself off. And so the body experiences violent withdrawal symptoms, and that actually could be deadly. I think that's how Amy Winehouse died. I think so. So anyway, I don't know if you can die from SSRI withdrawal, but anyway, you wean it down. And I actually had kind of bad withdrawal symptoms because I uh, weaned off of it a little too quickly, but I got the brain zaps. So brain zaps are part of SSRI withdrawal, and then like I remember feeling kind of like dizzy at times and lightheaded, not not fun. So anyhow, um, flash forward to me being on anti no, me being on medications for bipolar and not being on any SSRIs. I started experiencing a lot of anxiety. Like I almost had a panic attack. And so my psychology, or not psychology, the word is psychiatry, but not psychiatry. My I, okay, my psych NP, she said, okay, let's start you back on your SSRI because SSRIs, they treat two things. Um, well, they're indicated for two things: depression and anxiety. So then she was like, you know, my bipolar medications, they don't treat for anxiety. So then I started to go on um, Lexapro, my SSRI, and and it helped. It helped the anxiety. It helped the anxiety. I just wrote down a note because I wanted to talk about it and I didn't want to forget. I know that I would have forgotten if I didn't write it down. So that's what I was doing. Um, so yeah, SSRI. Um, what I have been experiencing though that is not pleasant is there are times where I will get a little bit overwhelmed, like I'm triggered, and then I will feel overwhelmed and also feel restless. See, I don't know if I've told you this already because I feel like it's been going on ever since, well, actually almost ever since I started the Latuda. So did I mention my bipolar meds? Lithium and Latuda. Yeah. Lithium, Latuda, and then like as a supplemental thing, I'm not supplemental really. It's not supplemental to like my life, but like supplemental to my bipolar meds is my anxiety med, the Lexapro that we've been talking about. So sorry, it's like hard for me to kind of focus right now. I don't know. Maybe I need food. 11:30. Yeah. So um, I'm talking about meds and bipolar meds and restlessness. Okay. So I feel restless sometimes, like super restless, and then it starts to feel like overwhelm. But there are times when like I get overstimulated, and it's happened a few times with my sister. Like my sister's witnessed it, where like I will be in a very loud area and then I'm like, oh God, and I feel overstimulated and I have to escape. That's what it feels like. It's very unpleasant. And then what ends up happening is like that I have to leave the situation, leave the scene, you know? And and it sucks because this one time I was hanging out with my I wonder if I told you this already. Oh well, sorry if I did. But there was this one time, this one scene in my life where I was hanging out with my sister and my cousin, and you know, I wanted to be there, you know, but then I just felt so overwhelmed by and overstimulated by the noise in this area. We were having dessert. I think I told you this already. Sorry, but anyhow, Um, so I told my psych NP about this and that how it's like kind of really interfering with my life, right? Because yeah, that sucks. And so we lowered my dose of Latuda and it hasn't happened since, which is great. I still have some moments of restlessness and even once by myself, like I wasn't being overstimulated. Uh yeah, but anyhow, she's very conservative, which is good, which is good. I mean, we have time to be conservative, you know, like slowly taking off medications or slowly weaning down a dose of medications and then seeing how I feel and what my symptoms are like. So I mean that is good, but you know, sometimes like me being in my impatience is like it's like, oh, I just want to change already, but that's not, yeah, how it goes. So so anyway, so that's my meds. Um, and I remember it's like I've been told, and even in DBT class, it's like you should know, or yeah, you need to know what your triggers are. And so I feel like this is me learning what my triggers are. So different, such an adjustment, such an adjustment. Being, I feel like it's a medication thing because I wasn't overstimulated before, or hadn't, how about this? I hadn't experienced these overwhelming symptoms before. Yeah. It kind of, in a way, and this is me being honest with you, it kind of makes me feel weaker. I feel like I'm kind of weakened now in a way. But then my my therapist was saying like, oh, by the way, I needed to change my therapist because my therapist left practice. And which was sad because she was really good, and she was with me, during my whole manic episode, my hospitalization. I mean, yeah, my hospitalization and just this entire time. And so, but anyway, she's happy and I'm happy that she's leaving me during a stable time in my life. So that's good. And I'm getting a new therapist with the same practice, and she's like super super sweet and kind, and her focus is on like loving kindness, and actually like all the things that she was saying, I was like, oh man, she sounds perfect for me. What kind of threw me off though is that she is like very very sweet in presentation. Like her voice is kind of high, and it I guess it just feels like fake to me. And I told that to my therapist that left, and my therapist was like, no, that's how she is. It's not fake. Like she didn't say those words, but she was like, no, you have nothing to worry about. This is really how she is. She's genuine. I was like, okay, that's good. But even then I was like, I still think that she can really help me. Because remember, we talked about this before, like, and it's okay if you don't remember, but I'm needing to be like kinder to myself. I wonder if most of us are not kind to ourselves, or at least a lot of us, right? Experience that, um, like negative self-talk. That's one of the things that I'm definitely working on because it's so 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 big in my life. Yeah. Okay. Um, so I learned that any mind altering substance can be detrimental and triggering to mania. And so mind altering meaning like even caffeine, um, alcohol, weed, illicit substances, and even stress. And so I'm actually, and I was telling Genesis this morning, I'm kind of grieving not drinking anymore, not doing weed anymore. Like those things are fun. And so it kind of sucks. And so it's like I don't want to take that risk. I don't want to take the risk of experiencing mania, even though mania has a lot of benefits. Well, I also learned that mania is the extreme part of of the spectrum of mania, because there's hypomania, which means just a little bit of mania, which probably would have like all the fun symptoms. But I learned that if you experience mania, it's likely that you could experience depression. And then I remember telling you like I experienced in my mixed episode of mania and depression, like rapid, um like yeah, they I experienced it rapidly in succession, like one after the other, in like a short span of time. That depression is, I mean, depression sucks, but so depressed that you feel suicidal. Yeah, I went there, and I didn't. I mean, who likes that? No one likes that. So I don't want to risk that. So now I'm a monk. Like now like now I don't do any substances. Yeah, yeah. So I'm grieving that. I am grieving that. Um, Yeah, so this is not a smooth transition, but here I will transition into something lighter and nicer. I've gotten more inspired lately, more inspired, and my creativity has heightened lately too, which is amazing. I totally missed, my intense creativity of my mania, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so boring now. So I told you I got COVID, I think, recently. Yeah, like the one that's going around. So during my COVID, I played a lot of solitaire. I played a lot of solitaire. I found a deck of cards in my place and I played solitaire. And I am proud to say I even played hard solitaire. So, what is hard solitaire? Hard solitaire is when instead of just one card at a time from the deck, you pull you pull three cards at a time, and you could only choose from the first card. And so, anyway, I won a few rounds of that. So, yeah, I know you should be quite impressed. Okay, so um, but because during my COVID, I didn't feel that sick, right? I wasn't like in bed, like, oh my gosh, I can't move. No, that wasn't me. I was like energetic. For me, it was a mild cold, thankfully. So it was a mild cold, and I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do, right? And at that time, I didn't have anything that really interested me to do. The old me, the manic me, would have been creating art nonstop. But so I don't know why I told you that. Why did I tell you that I played solitaire? I don't know. Maybe I'm that proud of my solitaire. I don't know. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, this still doesn't match. But anyway, so inspired. Yeah, yeah. Recently I've been inspired, and then my therapist on her way out, she said that she likes to listen to audiobooks because I told her I was going to start to get into audiobooks, and she recommended to me Maiden and the Crocodile, or Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ifuenko. So I looked into it, right? And I was like, oh, audiobooks, yes, this can totally occupy my time, you know? Like I'm not doing shit else, so why not listen to an audiobook, right? And me, like knowing me, I would like marathon listen, right? That's how I read too, like marathon read if I'm super into a book. So Ifuenko. Yeah, and so I looked online and I was like, huh, I was like this, and then I looked at, oh, look at these other books that she's written, right? And then I looked and I was way interested in her first book, Ray Bearer. I recommend it. And I listened to it, I marathon listened to it, and like so much so that like when I had to work, and not listen, I was like, I miss my people. like I miss the people in the book. Who's the main character? The main character is Tarisai. I was like, I miss Tarisai. Yeah, so anyway, and then I noticed that like lately I've been thinking sometimes in story, or I've been thinking about things, like things that I notice, and like I would describe it as if I were writing a book. So I was like, oh, this is good because that's being creative, right? Like, yeah. So I was really happy about that. And then I recently thought of these books that I read that are actually diaries by Anais Nin, Anaisnin, and she literally published her diaries. And I remember being so like inspired, not exactly, but like impressed. Impressed, yeah, impressed that, and like respectful. I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but something like that, that I was so impressed that she could have the courage to publish her diaries, right? Like that's so brave. And then this morning, I realized like this is what I'm doing with you, right? It's like I am sharing my soul, and this is for a purpose, right? This is to help destigmatize mental health, and this is encouraging you and others to talk about your mental health so that one day, talking about mental health will just be so easy, and that we will not tolerate being abused anymore by the powers that be. Yeah, that's the hope, because right now we're just being used and abused because we allow it. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that also this morning, I'm not sure why. Maybe so I'm trying to connect the dots. So maybe it's because I have been kind of writing in my mind, describing my world, and that inspired me to think about the first memoir that I was going to write. So you know that I wrote a memoir, and it's essentially talking about or describing, mm, yeah, the circumstances around my first manic episode, kind of, or that time anyway. But prior to that, I was working on a memoir about my mom. So it's called I Survived My Tiger Mom's Unexpected Death, and You Can Too. And so I haven't touched it in a year? No, no, half a year? At least half a year. And so I want to get back into it. I think I want to finish that. And I realized after writing my first novel, which is very short, memoir that's very short, that it doesn't have to be a certain length. Like, fuck that. Who cares? You know what I mean? and that's what my one friend said. He was like, "Who has time to read a short, like long ones anyway? People's attention spans are so short." so, so, so yeah, it was good that it was short, and I was like, "Okay, thank you." Like, yeah, and who cares? Like, and that's the thing that I've noticed sometimes with this negative self talk. It's like I put all these restrictions on myself, but it doesn't have to be that way. So yeah, I'm gonna write it, and my former creative coach at Nadia D. Alla on Instagram. So Nadia, she goes like, I hope you still write your first memoir because I still want to read it. And and I know that there are a lot of people that still want to read it too. That's me talking to you. Those are not her words, though she could have easily said that. Yeah. So I am inspired to write again. Yeah. And I realized that writing, it doesn't have to be a certain way. I don't have to, yeah, I can just write, right? Just tell my story. And that's what they say. Who said this to me? Oh gosh, one of my beloved cousin, my ate Josephine. So ate means like older relative in Tagalog, the Filipino language. So she's one of my mentors. And she said to me when I was writing my personal statement for nurse practitioner school, She helped me realize that I lost my mom unexpectedly to health inequities, right? Health inequities are so great. Anyway, so she was like, Christine, that's your story. You have to tell your story. And then I was like, oof, yeah, that's right. I need to tell my story. You know what I mean? Because so many others can relate to it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is good. This is good. So yeah, look out for it. I'll tell you. I'll read some passages to you as I go. Probably. I like reading to you. Haven't read to you in a while though, but okay. Next. Oh, pain. Let me tell you about this shoulder pain that I've been having. So the other day, I was after I showered, I was putting on lotion and I like I think I sprained or like I pulled my muscle and I think that's what it is, but it burns. And I think burning is more so associated with nerve pain. And so I'm like, fuck, did I herniate a disc? Like, bro, I'm 36 years old. Did I do that to myself? Oh gosh. Like 36 years old still seems kind of young to me to be doing this kind of shit to myself. Like, anyway, but it hurts. It hurts. And like when I move in certain positions, I can elicit the pain. Anyway, it sucks. Been a few days now. And I as an experiment, I took Tylenol this morning to see if it would relieve the pain, and it didn't. So to me, that's like kind of even more evidence that it's nerve pain. Um, they say that a heart attack in women will show up differently, and it can be like shoulder pain that radiates to the arm, and it sometimes does radiate to my arm. So that's one that is one thing that I worry about. but then but then I feel like it wouldn't be so positional that I can elicit the pain. Anyway, at least every other part of me feels okay. And I'm still here talking to you. So anywho, I'll message my doc. Yeah. So, the main thing that I said I would talk to you about today is dating. So, I'm dating around. I was going to say, so I'm dating, but then it makes it feel like I'm not trying to mislead you by saying that I'm dating like just one specific person or like that I am dating someone. That'd be cool, but no, I'm trying to. Okay, here. So, I started dating again. I'm on the apps for sure. I'm on Hinge. Um, and I started talking to people, which is exhausting, and trying to schedule dates is exhausting, but I'm doing it, because I feel stable enough, right? And it's scary. It's scary putting myself out there again now, especially with this new diagnosis of bipolar. Yeah, I still have a lot of shame around it. I still feel like that there's something wrong with me, um, which I'm trying to shed. Right, this is part of the reason why I talk to you on such a in such a public space, is because I want to get rid of this shame that I feel, right? But it's still there. Um, like I talked to I was talking to person, this one person about it, and it went well. But I mean, that's kind of like, and even okay, here, I'll finish my thoughts. So the person I was talking to is a psychiatrist. Okay, so I mean, you would assume that psychiatrists would be more accepting of mental illnesses. Yeah, and he totally was. It was great. And so that's good. That's good. But now, and I'm totally the type to be more, to be like assertive and to show all my cards at once because that's how I am. Clearly, I don't know if that's obvious to you, but that's how I am. It's just like, I'll tell you everything. Let me tell you everything, because then you can make the educated decision if you want to stop this or not, right? And so it's almost like my experiment with humanity. Humanity. It's almost like my experiment with humanity. It's like, okay, this is me. And I mean, clearly mental illness has such stigma that I feel this way. Um, but this is why I'm here, like I said, to try to rid myself of that, try to rid the world of this. So yeah, and I'm just being honest with you because that's what we do here, right? So yeah, I I think, how about this? I think one technique that I can start to use, and you know what? I do, and I did, like talk about it in passing. Usually I'll just like, that's how I do sometimes. Sometimes I'll drop what feel like bombs, like in passing. And then it's up to you to pick it up. It's on you to do what you want with it, right? Like, are you just going to let it sit there and go out? No big deal. Or is it going to be a big deal? So that's how I'm going about it. And I was much less hesitant talking about therapy, being depressed, being on antidepressants, like that. I feel like was much easier. I feel like because bipolar in my mind feels much more hardcore. It's much less common. How about that? How about that? It is much less common. The thought that came to my mind right now is like, oh, I'm special. Like, oh, I'm more special. Yeah. Um, uh, Random, but oh, it's so nice. My one friend who told me like, oh, like short books are good. Like people don't have attention spans. That friend of mine, hi Lawrence. I don't think Lawrence watches these, but um, Lawrence also told me, he's like, there's a lot of people who are very creative that have bipolar, you know? And then I like a jealousy and envy came like spraying in me because I was like, hey, but where's my creativity? It's coming. And people made me feel better saying like, creativity comes in waves. Yeah. And it's not like I want to be manic again. But anyhow, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say to you. Let me try to rack my brain for maybe more tips. Who am I to give tips? Or okay. When I give tips, I think it's also me speaking to myself, right? So, oh, let me tell you, and I think I tried using it during our conversation right now, but one brilliant way that I thought was like kind of, it's like inclusive in a way. It's like PC talking, like politically correct, like speech. But this psychiatrist that I'm talking to, he said, he said, "Oh yeah, I don't have any friends that experience mania." He did not say, "I don't have any friends that have bipolar." You know what I mean? It normalizes it. It makes so let's break it down. I don't have any friends that experience mania. People, his friends are people, normal. Normal is probably a loaded word. Regular ass people who experience mania. It's an experience that people have. And I'm like, wow. And that made me feel good. Like that maybe I'm not broken, that I'm just a person who experiences mania. It spices up my life. And in order for it to be a little less spicy, I take meds. Yeah. Anyway. Dating sucks. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. And like, what better way to practice um kind self-talk than to date? It's one way to practice because like because there's a lot of self-doubt that comes with dating, you know? Oh my gosh, did I look stupid? Oh, did they like me? You know, and this and this. But at the same time, it's like, why do we put, why is it that we put so much pressure, or this, me. This is about me. So, like, why do I put so much pressure on myself to be likable? Yeah. Ooh, deep shit. But this is what this is, right? It's like, I care so much about somebody liking me, but it's like, do I even like them? why, why, why does their opinion matter so much? Yeah, it probably lies in a self-esteem thing. Yeah, which is so weird because I consider myself to be very confident. Like how could I do this? Like how could I do this with you so openly if I didn't have a level of confidence? But nothing's black and white, right? Like in some areas we can be confident, in other areas not so much. So yeah, something to work on. There's always something to work on. It was so funny. I remember thinking one time oh, my last frontier in self-development is, and I forgot what it was. It was something like, I think it was actually like empathy, or maybe something like that. And then yeah, no, no, that's not the last frontier. There will be countless frontiers to explore. Yeah, definitely. One new thing that I'm trying with dating, and okay, I used to be like, okay, can we schedule the next date? Because I just want it in my calendar, kind of thing, right? Kind of pushy. But I think that was a way to appease my uncertainty. Yeah, definitely a way to appease my uncertainty. I don't do that anymore, or I'm trying not to do that anymore, you know? So I'm trying to be more calm, cool, and collected. Not really. I'm still myself for sure. Lots of laughing. Oh gosh. Okay, this is an aside. But yesterday, oh my gosh. Okay. So, um, you know what's one thing I hate about work? When I have to take care of a hot guy. Like, yeah, when I have to take care of a hot guy, because then I get all nervous, a little shaky with my IV. No, not really, but kind of stumble on my words a little bit more. But there's this one hot guy that I took care of yesterday, and it was fun. He was a funny guy, so it was great. Um, yeah, I actually had a lot of fun yesterday. And this is why I'm glad to be back at work, because I have a lot of fun with my patients. Yeah, my coworkers too, but my patients, I don't know, my coworkers too. But yeah, anyway, let me tell you this one story about this one patient that I had. Uh, hot guy. Oh God, makes me uncomfortable thinking about it. Like, why? I mean, I know why because I'm his nurse. Okay, so I had this one patient, and he was hot, and and he was like, and his girlfriend was there, also hot. His girlfriend was there, and then he was just like, I don't remember her name, Jane. Jane, is it okay if I show her? And she was like, oh yeah. And then he was like, and he turns to me like, I have a rash on my penis. I was like, fuck. I was like, oh yeah? Like, okay, okay. Yeah, can I show you? Sure. Like, why? I mean, granted, I've seen lots of penises, okay? Like all shapes and sizes, breasts, all of the parts. I've been a nurse for over 10 years, like, a decade's worth of private parts. It was very embarrassing. Yeah. And then, like, later on, it was his dad that was there. And his dad was like, oh, yeah, Christine, like, we really enjoy having you as a nurse. Like, you're our favorite. And I was like, oh, God, wow, thanks. Oh, that's very nice and very embarrassing. Anyway, the joys of nursing. The joys of nursing. So, yeah, hot guys, dating. I don't really date hot guys because it just doesn't happen that way. Um, anyway, uh, I don't know if I have any final words for this conversation. I feel like I've just been rambling a little bit, which is what we do. We just ramble, right? Share our innermost secrets, updates. Yeah. Um, oh, update. So we didn't try to buy that mobile home after all, because what we didn't, first of all, it was being sold already. And then, second of all, we didn't take into account the price of the land rent. So, literally, as it sounds, like a mobile home, it rents land, right? Because you don't own the land, and so that rent costs money. And so my dad and his partner would be the one moving into the house, and so he was like, "Oh no, we can't afford that anyway." I'm like, "Okay, so there you go." Yeah. What do I want to leave you with? Let's let's say something nice, an affirmation about like confidence and self love or something. I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, so you could just listen. Okay, so um, I am enough. I am whole. I am worthy of love. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Bipolar and all. That's me. Okay, I'll leave you with that. And tell you again, in case you have forgotten, that I'm Christine Pilates and I talk mental health to free us all from capitalism. I'll see you next time.